I'm tapping in, I'm tapping in, I'm tapping in. Thank you for tapping in to Yocuzpodcast, man. Y'all know what it is, man. This coming in early, man, because nigga ain't got nothing to do but lay back, chill, and talk to my YouTube family. Just to let my YouTube family know what Uncle Trump is doing. But thank y'all for tapping in to Yocuzpodcast. First thing I want to say thank you to all my new subscribers. Thank you for subscribing to my YouTube channel. I appreciate all the love that you've been giving me, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So listen, man. PSA, y'all already know Trump out here doing the crazy shit, but I ain't gonna waste no time. Thank y'all for tapping into Your Cuz podcast. I'm about to get lit, roll them J's up, pour them drinks, cause right now, man, we in mode time, man. Let's go.
Wow, that's a lot of people. That's a new record. We set a record every time. Well, thank you very much for being here. The Supreme Court's ruling on tariffs is deeply disappointing, and I'm ashamed of certain members of the court, absolutely ashamed, for not having the courage to do what's right for our country. I'd like to thank and congratulate Justices Thomas, Alito, and Kavanaugh for their strength and wisdom and love of our country, which is right now very proud of those justices. When you read the dissenting opinions, there's no way that anyone can argue against them. There's no way. Foreign countries that have been ripping us off for years are ecstatic. They're so happy. And they're dancing in the streets, but they won't be dancing for long, that I can assure you. The Democrats on the court are thrilled, but they will automatically vote no. They're an automatic no, just like in Congress. They're an automatic no. They're against anything that makes America strong, healthy, and great again. They also are a frankly disgrace to our nation, those justices. They're an automatic no, no matter how good a case you have. It's a no. You can't knock their loyalty. It's one thing you can do with some of our people. Others think they're being politically correct, which has happened before far too often with certain members of this court, and it's happened so often with this court. What a shame. Having to do with voting in particular, when in fact they're just being fools and lapdogs for the rhinos and the radical left Democrats, and not that this should have anything at all to do with it. They're very unpatriotic and disloyal to our Constitution. It's my opinion that the court has been swayed by foreign interests and a political movement that is far smaller than people would ever think. It's a small movement. I won by millions of votes. We won in a landslide. With all the cheating that went on, there was a lot of it, but we still won in a landslide. Too big to rig. But these people are obnoxious, ignorant, and loud. They're very loud.
Damn.
And I think certain justices are afraid of that. They don't want to do the right thing. They're afraid of it. This was an important case to me, more as a symbol of economic national security, and also, I would say, just for our country itself, so important, because we're doing so well as a country. We've never done so well. The good news is that there are methods, practices, statutes, and authorities as recognized by the entire court in this terrible decision, and also as recognized by Congress, which they refer to.
You finally have a viable business.
And all from my mom's garage.
That are even stronger than the IEEPA tariffs available to me as President of the United States. And in actuality, I was very modest in my ask of other countries and businesses because I wanted to do, and it's very important, I wanted to be very well behaved because I wanted to do anything. I didn't want to do anything that would affect the decision of the court, because I understand the court. I understand how they are very easily swayed. I want to be a good boy. I have very effectively utilized tariffs over the past year to make America great again. Our stock market has just recently broken 50,000 on the Dow, and simultaneously, and even more amazingly, broken 7,000 on the S&P, two numbers that everybody thought upon our landslide election victory could not be attained. Think of that. Nobody thought it was possible to do it within 4 years, and we did it in 1 year. They said you'll never be able, you'll go back and you read the geniuses, read their statements, all of the Nobel Prize winners in economics. They said, no, you couldn't do it in 4 years. Well, we didn't do it in 4 years. We did it in 1 year. We broke every record in the book, and we're continuing to do so. Tariffs have likewise been used to end 5 of the 8 wars that I settled. I settled 8 wars, whether you like it or not, including India, Pakistan, big ones, nuclear, could have been nuclear. Prime Minister of Pakistan said yesterday at the great meeting that we had, the Peace Board, he said yesterday that President Trump could have saved 35 million lives by getting us to stop fighting. They were getting ready to do some bad things. But they've given us great national security, these tariffs have. And together with our strong borders, reduced fentanyl coming into our country by 30%. When I use them as a penalty against countries illegally sending this poison into our country to poison our youth. All of those tariffs remain. They all remain. I don't know if you know that or not. They all remain. We're still getting them, and we will after the decision. I guess there's nobody left to appeal to. But again, those 3 people, such respect. I've had a lot of respect for them anyway, but such great respect. But other alternatives will now be used to replace the ones that the court incorrectly rejected. We have alternatives, great alternatives. Could be more money. We'll take in more money, and we'll be a lot stronger for it. We're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. We'll continue to do so. To show you how ridiculous the opinion is, however, the court said that I'm not allowed to charge even $1. I can't charge $1. Can't charge $1. I would have used 1 penny, but we don't make the pennies anymore. We save money.
Awesome, President. No
Can't
way.
charge $1 to any country under IEPA.
You hear this
Not
shit?
$1. I assume to protect other countries. This must have been done to protect those other countries. Certainly not the United States of America, which they should be interested in protecting. That's what they're supposed to be protecting. But I am allowed to cut off any and all trade or business with that same country. In other words, I can destroy the trade. I can destroy the country. I'm even allowed to impose a foreign country-destroying embargo. I can embargo. I can do anything I want, but I can't charge $1.
That's crazy, Pakistan.
Because that's not what it says. And that's not the way it even reads. I can do anything I want to do to them, but I can't charge any money. So I'm allowed to destroy the country, but I can't charge them a little fee. I could give them a little 2-cent fee, but I cannot charge under any circumstances. I cannot charge them anything. Think of that. How ridiculous is that? I'm allowed to embargo them. I'm allowed to tell them you can't do business in the United States anymore. We want you out of here. But if I want to charge them $10, I can't do that.
And they can't charge nobody nothing.
But it doesn't matter because
you can't charge
we have very
nobody
powerful
nothing.
alternatives that have been approved by this decision. You know, they've been approved by the decision for those that thought they had us. And they're saying that I have the absolute right to license, but not the right to charge a license fee. So think of that. I have the right to license. It's a very powerful word. In many ways, license is more powerful than tariffs. In fact, I was thinking about using it. But they came up with the idea that I can license, just like the people that were opposing me told them to do, but not the right to charge a license fee. Think of that. Who ever heard of such a thing? What license has ever been issued without the right to charge a fee. You get a license, you charge a fee. It's automatic, but not with this court. But now the court has given me the unquestioned right to ban all sorts of things from coming into our country, to destroy foreign countries. But a much more powerful right than many people ever thought we even had, but not the right to charge a fee. How crazy is that?
He said, "How
If
crazy
you're
is
looking
that?"
to learn how to
He
trade,
mad
a
as shit.
community is very important. And I've joined previous.
Our country is the hottest
He mad as
country
shit.
anywhere in the
judge
world right
told him
now.
no. He's sick, y'all.
And it was a dead country
I mean,
1.5 years ago under an incompetent president. But now I'm going to reading Justice Kavanaugh, whose stock has gone so up. You have to see. I'm so proud of him. Wrote in his dissent, although I firmly disagree with the court's holding today, the decision might not substantially constrain a president's
Oh, he
ability
gonna fight that.
to order tariffs going forward. So,
Listen, man, I'm tapping in. Listen, the judge done told Trump that he can't charge nobody for sending product over here, right? That's why he mad right now, right? Because the judge told him no. So he's sick right now, right? But see, this will happen when you trying to do shit the wrong way. You gotta do shit the right way. Because the wrong way gonna have you looking like this man right here on this screen right here, looking sick as a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? But listen, man, this y'all president. So I'm gonna let y'all listen to y'all president because he looking very disappointed right now. Let's go.
think of that. The decision might not substantially constrain. And it doesn't. He's right. In fact, I can charge much more than I was charging. So I'm going to just start. Although I firmly disagree with the court's holding today, the decision might not substantially constrain a president's ability to order tariffs going forward.
I heard
That's because numerous other federal statutes, which is so true, authorize the president
right now
to impose tariffs and might
judge
justify
told him no.
most, if not all,
No
of
way.
the tariffs issued in this case. Even more tariffs, actually. Those statutes include, think of that, those statutes include, for example,
Facts, bro.
the Trade Expansion Act of 1962, Section 232.
Facts.
All of these things I know so well. The Trade Act of 1974, Sections 122, 201, 301. And the Tariff Act of 1930, Section 338, all clear. But it's a little bit longer process. I thought I'd make things simple, but they didn't let us do that. I would like to thank Justice Kavanaugh for frankly, his genius and his great ability. Very proud of that appointment. In actuality, while I am sure that they did not mean to do so, the Supreme Court's decision today made a president's ability to both regulate trade and impose tariffs more powerful and more crystal clear rather than less. I don't think they meant that. I'm sure they didn't.
But go off.
It's terrible. And to think that the Democrats who oppose this only because they want to go the opposite way, they'd like to pack the court. They want to put on 21 people. They want to pack the court, pack the Supreme Court. Maybe they should do it. Maybe they would be better off if they did it. They want to pack the court. They want to do anything to hurt our country.
Did he make America great?
There will no longer be any doubt.
America worse.
And the income coming in and the protection of our companies and country will actually increase because of this decision. I don't think the court meant that, but it's the way it is. Based on long-standing law and hundreds of victories, and even, as I was pointed out before, even thousands of victories over the years, to the contrary, the Supreme Court did not overrule tariffs. They merely overruled a particular use of IEEPA tariffs. And essentially, it's used to get a fee. I can do anything I want with IEEPA. Anything. I just can't charge anybody for it. I can license, I just can't charge them. It's ridiculous, but it's okay because we have other ways, numerous other ways. The ability to block, embargo, restrict, license, or impose any other condition on a foreign country's ability to conduct trade with the United States under IEEPA has been fully confirmed by this decision. So now there's no doubt, because, you know, there were a lot of questions about tariffs because no president was smart enough to use them to protect our country from those countries and businesses that were ripping us off. You took a look at the deficits that we had with some of these countries. It was disgraceful what they got away with for many, many decades. But now we know, because this decision affirms all those things that some people weren't sure about. In order to protect, and it says so, in order to protect our country, a president can actually charge more tariffs than I was charging in the past period of a year under the various tariffs authorities. So we can use other of the statutes, other of the tariff authorities, which have also been confirmed and are fully allowed. Therefore, effective immediately, all national security tariffs under Section 232 and existing Section 301 tariffs, they're existing, they're there, remain in place, fully in place,
your tax
and in full force and effect.
Oh, that's crazy, homie.
Today I will sign an order to impose a 10% global tariff under Section 122 over and above our normal tariffs already being charged. And we're also initiating several Section 301 and other investigations to protect our country from unfair trading practices of other countries and companies. Thank you for your attention to this matter, and I say quite simply, which I've said for a long time, make America great again. And interestingly, we've already made it great, so I don't have to use that, but I don't think we'll ever give up on MAGA. MAGA is always going to be with us. If you have a few questions, you can let us know. But just to end, so we're going forward, we will be able to take in more money, and there'll no longer be doubt, because there was always doubt. I know the people that brought the lawsuit, and they're sleazebags, major sleazebags, but I know them. And they're a foreign country.
Man, we're going to be paying taxes for the rest of our life, cuz.
They were sending things into our country.
As long as you work,
and the people representing them knew full well, but they were sending things into our country, and they were beneficial to other countries, but very, very bad for us. And I stopped it, and we'll just keep it going. So we have more of we have a totally firm decision now. And I don't think the court meant it, because the court doesn't show great spirit toward our country, in my opinion. A lot of bad decisions, but there are usually ways around it. This is something we could have done, as Justice Kavanaugh said, we could have done this originally, but we're doing it now. And the numbers could be far greater than the hundreds of billions we've already taken in. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'm very curious.
Thank
you so much, Mr. President. Justice Thomas and Alito, as you know, are the most conservative constitutional justices. Do you think that you'll get to appoint 2 more justices later this term with similar ideologies? And what type of vetting process will they go through to ensure they uphold?
I don't know, but they're great justices. That's all I can say. And I hope they're going to be around a long time. I hope they're going to stay healthy. They're great people. They're great. And Justice Alito, too, to add to the group. These are great men.
Right.
With a great love of our country and a great understanding of the law.
Mr. President, are you going to ask Congress to take additional action on tariffs now?
No, I don't need to. It's already been approved. I mean, I would ask Congress and probably get it. When people look at the real numbers, and you look at hundreds of billions of dollars that have come into our country. Yesterday, I was at a steel plant, as you know, and I went to great place, great plant, great, wonderful people. And they were telling me, I said to them, you were there, a lot of the press in this room. Of course, I don't think this plane's big enough to take the press in this room, but a lot of the press right here. We were in Georgia. And I said to the owner, I made a speech at a factory. They make steel products. And I said, how are you? Nice to meet you. How's business? President, I'd love to kiss you. This is a very powerful man. I don't want to be kissed by that man, but a very powerful, strong man. He's been in the steel business for many years. His father started it. And he said, sir, I want to kiss you. I said, why? He said, because we were down to working 1 hour a week and then you came in and imposed tariffs, and all of that foreign junk that they were dropping into our country stopped. And we're now going to double shifts, 7 days a week, and we may be very soon going to 24 hours around the clock, almost 7 days a week. He said, "Sir, I want to kiss you so badly." And I said, "No, thank you." But you know what? He just to finalize it, he said, "Oh, this is a great place in Georgia." He said, "All up and down the highway."
Then they got that talk.
Same exact answer, sir. We're all going out of business. We're going to go bankrupt. We're all going out of business. And now every one of us are thriving, and we're hiring people like we haven't. He said, like I've never, and he's been in business for, I think, 45 years, like we've never hired before. That's because of tariffs. And we're going to keep it going the same way. And you're going to start to see the results in a year from now when all those factories start that are under construction right now. The construction numbers are so good. Those construction workers are building factories that are going to be open, including not only AI, which is big, but car plants coming in from Canada, who ripped us off for 30% of our market. Mexico ripped us off for a big portion. Over the years, they've taken our market. They've taken our cars. They manufacture them in Japan, Germany, and all over the place because nobody's standing in this position. The position I have as President of the United States had the insight, the courage, well, I don't know what it is, to charge tariffs. You can make your product outside. You can put our people out of business. You can put everybody on the unemployment rolls. But if you're going to make a car in some other country, you're going to pay a 15, 20, 30% tariff. And those things would have never happened. We wouldn't have lost our business. Same thing with, as an example, Taiwan. Taiwan came in.
How do you give your book the best chance to succeed in 2026? If you've written a book.
They stole our chip business. They make chips. For 30 years longer, they made chip, and they put our companies. Intel would be now the largest company. I saved Intel. I literally saved it at the beginning of this administration. And now all those companies in Taiwan are building factories in Arizona, Texas, and various other places because they don't want to pay tariffs. They're all pouring into the United States. But just like that great patriot said yesterday, "Sir, what you've done, nobody thought was possible." And Steve Moore, a highly respected economist, came into my office yesterday. He said, "You've done something nobody's ever done." 22 Nobel Prize winners in economics said we would right now be in a recession. And you said, "No, we're going to have a booming country. We're going to have a booming country." You were right. All 22 were wrong, and you were right. This country is booming, and it's booming because of the election on November 5th, and it's booming for another reason. It's booming because of tariffs. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Once the
What was said ahead of the decision that if the Supreme Court...
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. What will you say to foreign nations who seek to renegotiate their deals? And what did you mean a moment ago when you said that the Supreme Court has been swayed by foreign interests?
Well, I think that foreign interests are represented by people that I believe have undue influence. They have a lot of influence over the Supreme Court, whether it's through fear or respect or friendships, I don't know. But I know some of the people that were involved on the other side, and I don't like them. I think they're real slime balls. And got to do what's right for the country. You got to do what's right for the Constitution. That's why I respect so much Justice Thomas and Alito, Kavanaugh, because they not only dissented, their dissent is so strong. When you read their dissent, you know, a lot of times you'll read a dissent and it's like, well, you don't know, it could go either way. There's no other way. The good news is, it's like Justice Kavanaugh said, very strongly said, you have other ways you can go. You don't have to go that way. You can go other way. There are numerous other ways you can go. And frankly, this should have been done by presidents many years ago. They allowed our country to be eaten alive. We lost 50% of our car business. We used to make cars. We made all the cars. And then Mexico came, Canada came, Japan and Germany. But they're all coming back now. They're all coming back at record levels. No, you please. I'm not talking to you. I don't talk to CNN. It's fake news. Go ahead.
Mr. President, you made the case that the economy is the hottest it's been in a long time.
Right.
January jobs report beat expectations, CPI report beat expectations, real wages are up. What would you tell Americans who are worried that this decision will kind of throw the economy that you have projected going in the right direction at a very rapid pace off track?
Well, thank you for the question. And I will say this, we really are at a very important point. I've been waiting for this decision so long. They could have made this decision a long time ago. Not complex. They're wrong on it. It's a ridiculous decision. But they should have released this a long time ago. We waited months. And that gave uncertainty. Now we have certainty. And I think you're going to see the country get much stronger because of it. Look, we were ripped off by almost every country in the world. If you look at the surpluses, almost every country in the world that did business with us, our people were stupid. And I blame presidents for it because they're ultimately the leader. We were being ripped off by almost every single country in the world, had some massive surpluses. China had hundreds of billions of dollars in surpluses with the United States. They rebuilt China. They rebuilt the army. We built China's army by allowing that to happen. I have a great relationship with President Xi, but he respects our country now. Now, what we've done, I charged China a 20% tariff as a penalty for sending fentanyl in. And that was 20 times more than they could make by selling fentanyl. And I said, at some point you're going to say, and they have reduced it. Fentanyl is down by more than 30% coming into our country. Part of that is a strong border. We have a strong border now. But thank you. Thank you for your question.
Mr. President, sir, you warned once in a social media post that if the Supreme Court did this, shot down your tariffs, the U.S. would be, quote, financially defenseless. Are we financially defenseless right now?
No, because we're doing something in a different way. We're doing something in a very powerful way. And we're using things that some people thought we should have used in the first place. But it's more complicated. It's a little more complicated. The process takes a little more time. But the end result is going to get us more money. And I think it's going to be great. Yeah, Peter, go ahead.
Thank you, President Trump. So, since Liberation Day, there's about $175 billion in tariff revenue that is now in limbo. Do you have to refund $175 billion?
Think of it, Peter. Wow. Fair question. They take months and months to write an opinion, and they don't even discuss that point. We've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars, not millions, hundreds of billions of dollars. And so I said, well, what happens to all the money that we took in? It wasn't discussed. Wouldn't you think they would have put one sentence in there saying that keep the money or don't keep the money, right? I guess it has to get litigated for the next 2 years. So they write this terrible, defective decision, totally defective.
So today's the day. I've got my RTA mock system and Coyote appliances.
It's almost like not written by smart people. And what they do, they don't even talk about that. Your question is very basic. That was the first question I asked also to make you feel good. I said, what about all the money that we've taken in? Sir, they don't discuss that. How crazy is that?
What you're saying is, are you saying that you don't plan to honor refunds for companies that file for them?
I just told you the answer, right? I told you the answer. It's not discussed. We'll end up being in court for the next 5 years. Go ahead, Green.
Thank you, Mr. President. When you are talking about the relationship with countries that you have sought trade deals with, do you anticipate that they will seek to renegotiate those? What do you say to them? And do you view this as a potential undermining power for your negotiations?
We're going straight ahead with 10% straight across the board, which was the absolute right to do. And that's taking place. That's a lot of money coming into our country. And then during that period of about 5 months, we are doing the various investigations necessary to put fair tariffs or tariffs, period, on other countries. So we're doing that period, but we're immediately instituting the 10% provision, which we're allowed to do. And in the end, I think we'll take in more money than we've taken in before.
President, you've used the tariff revenue to pay for a host of federal policies. You claim that they will pay for them. What happens?
Well, like the farmers. We took care of farmers. The farmers were mistreated by foreign countries very badly, very, very badly. And last week I gave them $12 billion out of tariff money. We intend to, out of tariff money, because just so you understand, we have tariffs. We just have them in a different way. And now they've been confirmed by the Supreme Court of the United States. So there's no longer that question out there about tariffs. And we'll be taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. And countries that have treated us badly will have to pay a price for treating us badly. And countries that have been good to us will be treated very well. We just left the top person in a place called Vietnam, just left my office. Great gentleman, strong and smart. He said, you know, I think this means you're allowed to charge us more tariffs than before. And Canada said to Jameson, I might want to say it, Jameson, but Canada said, I hope you win this decision, because if you don't win, you'll actually be allowed to charge us, with a little additional work, higher tariffs. Jameson, you want to comment on that?
Yes, sir. So to the President's point, we have a lot of tools out there. We have Section 122, which will be implemented today. It will be signed today and implemented very shortly. We have Section 301 investigations, which are incredibly legally durable, where we can investigate and address unfair trading practices that have led to our huge trade deficit. And so you can look forward in the coming days and weeks to seeing all of that come out, and we're going to keep continuity in the program. We're going to keep addressing this so that the deficit can keep going down. That's the trend it has, and we can make America great again.
No.
Several of Republicans in Congress have supported this decision by the Supreme Court, and Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader, has called you a wannabe king. Why wouldn't
him a low IQ?
But why wouldn't
he doesn't even know? And I watched him the other day interview. The guy doesn't even know what a tariff is.
But there's been bipartisan criticism.
No, not bipartisan.
Of the tariff.
Excuse me.
There's several Republicans
people
have said that.
Yeah,
But
a
why
few people.
wouldn't you just work with Congress to come up with a plan?
I don't have to
push tariffs.
I have the right to do tariffs, and I've
The
always
nigga
had the
said I
right
ain't
to
got
do
to.
tariffs, and it's all been approved by
I ain't-
Congress. So
I ain't
there's
got
no
to.
reason to do it. All we're doing is we're going through a little bit more complicated process. Not complicated very much, but a little more complicated than what we had. We'll be able to take in tariffs, more tariffs. And the Congress people and the Congress,
the Canadian tariffs last week.
Yeah,
There's been votes
you
in
know
the
why?
Senate against it.
Yeah, because we lost 2 Republicans or 3 Republicans because they're not good Republicans. What you don't say, you don't say that we got 215 votes.
You need 218 for something to pass.
Yeah, sure we do. We might have lost 3 votes, and what was the score on the Republican side? 215 to 3, right? But you don't say that. We have great unity. There's great unity in the Republican Party, and I hope everyone's going to vote Republican, because otherwise you won't have a country left, because these people have been they are destroying our country. Please.
Mr. President, the 122 tariffs, that 10%,
Yeah.
is that going to be for 150 days, or do you want to charge that indefinitely?
We have a right to do pretty much what we want to do, but we're going to charge it starting effectively, I think it's 3 days from now. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, you speak to a lot of factory workers, a lot of manufacturing workers. What does the Supreme Court ruling say? What's that message to those factory workers?
Well, I think the factory workers are happy because we're now telling them that they're going to... Look, the man I met with yesterday who owned a factory was out of business. He was out of business. And now he's employing 5 times. In fact, I walked in, he's got a brand new crane. I said, how old is that crane? We got it in December. He's allowed to write it off in 1 minute. The Great Big Beautiful Act gave no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. He said this great big beautiful bill, frankly, has been the best thing that's ever happened for the workers much more so than for rich people. The only thing it does for rich people, it allows them to hire a lot more people. But when I saw him, and then he said, it's all up and down the line. This is a place in Georgia, all up and down, other factories doing different, not only steel products, different. He said, every one of us was out of business. We could barely make it. Some of them were down to less than an hour a week. Think of it, 1 hour a week to make just a few little trinkets or whatever they make. Now they're going round the clock. I had it a month ago. I went to Michigan, went to Ford, and I met with Bill Ford, the head of Ford, and we were in one of the biggest plants, an original plant from the early 1900s, where, by the way, I might add this, it's not really relevant, but it's all relevant. Murders are down the lowest since 1900, around the time that he had this plan. That's 125 years. We have the lowest murder rate. Okay. And our crime is way down in the country. The factories that we're talking about, the people that we're talking about, they are so thrilled with Trump. So whether we charge IEEPA tariffs or whether we charge tariffs under a different section, that's what we're going to be doing. There's no way we can lever. This is what happened to our country. This is why we owe $38 trillion, which we'll get rid of in pretty good course. We have a very incompetent Fed chairman who likes high interest rates. For political reasons, he likes them. But we're going to have somebody very good. Interest rates should come down very substantially. I think we should pay the lowest interest rates on the planet. There should be no country, and we don't do that. We're number 38. This is just bad policy for a long period of time. But what's happened is we've made America strong again. We've made America great again. We should pay. As an example, the country of Switzerland, we were getting almost no tariffs from them. We had a $40 billion deficit. And the prime minister called me up. She said, but we are a small country, because I said we're going to raise it to 39% from nothing. That would have rendered them not very successful, as opposed to right now they're considered elite. But if we put a tariff, they would. And I realized then, she said, but sir, we are a small country. I said, you're a small country with a big deficit. For us, you're making a lot of money off the United States. If we do that, a lot of these elite countries, they're elite because we let them make so much money. And I want them to do well. But I don't want them to do well on the backs of the American taxpayer. So I appreciate your question. I think it's a reasonable answer.
President Trump, you said that you were disappointed with that, but were you surprised with this decision? What you felt when you...
I was surprised because I thought it was number one according to, I mean, I read the paragraphs. I read very well. Great comprehension. I read everything there is to read, and I said, we can't lose this case. But we can when judges are political, when they want to be politically correct, when they're catering to a group of people in D.C. maybe. I don't know what it is, because when you read it, there's no other interpretation. There is no other interpretation. But it's okay, because what has come out, and I'll say it for the third time and maybe the last time in a while, is that we've taken the uncertainty of tariffs out, because we had uncertainty. We got sued by sleazebags, I know them well, that are very outside country, China-centric, but outside country-centric. And they're going to end up not doing as well as they did before. America was becoming really, really, we're strong again. Hey, we have the strongest military. I rebuilt the military in the first term. We have the most powerful military. We make the best equipment. And even them, you know, we could do much better. We have people that get paid a lot of money to manufacture Patriot missiles and javelins and all the different things. But when you want them, they're too slow. And we put them on notice, and they're going to make. Our country is building a lot of things right now, and our country is doing really well, and we're going to keep it that way. The bottom line is that the word certainty is now in the equation. Every single thing I said today is guaranteed certainty. It's been tested, as Jameson said 1,000 times. Literally, I said hundreds of times. He said, sir, actually thousands of times, and won in all of the courts. And we're just going back to that. And the problem is that we had other presidents that...
What's up, cuz? How you doing?
You finally have a viable business.
An offer my garage.
Weren't into trade. Maybe they weren't business oriented. Maybe they weren't smart. We had some dummies too, you know. I respectfully say we had some real dummies. So we are going to keep it going just as before, probably more so. But you're no longer going to be asked, every time I got up, you'd ask, well, what happens if you can't charge tariffs? Now we can. And by the way, in their decision, they specifically said, we can do these. We have alternatives, yeah.
On the trade deals that were negotiated using IEEPA tariffs,
Yeah.
do those stand now, or are they have to be redone?
Some of them stand. Many of them stand. Some of them won't, and they'll be replaced with the other tariffs.
Mr. President, on the Supreme Court justices who ruled against this the policy, striking it down, are they still invited to your State of the Union next week? And will you speak with them?
They are invited, barely. Barely. 3 are happily invited. No, they're barely invited. Honestly, I couldn't care less if they come. Okay.
Mr. President.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the trade deal, which is the framework which is to be signed with India sometime soon, will that stand now? And on the decision, nothing changes?
Nothing changes. They'll be paying tariffs, and we will not be paying tariffs. So deal with India is they pay tariffs. This is a reversal from what it used to be, as you know. India, I think Prime Minister Modi is a great gentleman, a great man, actually, but he was much smarter than the people that he was against in terms of the United States. He was ripping us off in India. So we made a deal with India, and it's a fair deal now, and we are not paying tariffs to them, and they are paying tariffs. We did a little flip.
So as of now for this, Mr. President.
No, the India deal is on.
So much, Mr. President.
All the deals are on. We're just going to do it differently.
Mr. President. Thank you so much, Mr. President. I think there's another war that you stop it and you should take the credit, which is in Syria. Secretary Rubio, after his meeting in Munich with the Syrian Foreign Minister and the Kurdish General Muslim Abdi, he said that President Trump was directly involved with any force to stop the fighting between the Kurds and the Syrians. How will your administration make sure that this peace is sustained? And do you support the idea?
Well, it's a very different topic, and so I don't want to spend a lot of time. But all I can say is that the president of Syria, who I essentially put there, is doing a phenomenal job. He's a rough guy. He's not a choir boy. A choir boy couldn't do it. But Syria is coming together, really coming together well. And thus far, he's been very good to the Kurds. Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. President, what's your message to the Iranian people after 2 rounds of talks with them? Do you have any message to the Iranian people?
The Iranian people in Iran or people here?
People in Iran.
They better negotiate a fair deal.
You heard them.
You know, the people of Iran are a lot different than the leaders of Iran. And it's very, very sad situation. But 32,000 people were killed over a relatively short period of time. They were going to hang 800 2 weeks ago. Hang some by crane. They lift them up with a tall crane, and they play them around the square. They were going to hang 837 people. And I gave them the word, if you hang one person, even one person, that you're going to be hit right then and there. I wasn't waiting 2 weeks and negotiating. And they gave up the hanging. They didn't hang 837. Supposedly, they didn't hang anybody. But no, I feel very badly for the people of Iran. They've lived in hell. Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. You mentioned multiple times foreign influence over the Supreme Court. Do you have evidence of that? And if not, will you investigate that?
You're going to find out.
What alternatives are you going to put into place in your relationship with Europe, and also those tariffs that has been called illegal? How they're going to go impact the relationship with Russia, that you sanctions?
Well, I want Europe to strengthen up. Europe has gone woke. Europe is not recognizable when you go into so many places. Not all countries. You look at Hungary. You look at Poland, Czech, Slovakia. There are some countries that have gone very much the opposite. Some really, and some others. But Europe has to be strong, and they become soft and not recognizable. You go into some of the countries, I don't want to be specific, but I think everyone knows what I'm talking about, and they're not recognizable. They become, the environmentalists have taken over. They've got windmills destroying their fields and their beautiful meadows and their oceans, and they're paying a fortune. Now, Europe has to get smart. Europe's getting killed on two things, energy and immigration. And if they don't solve both of them fast, Europe is not the same place. Yeah, please.
Justices Gorsuch and Barrett, are you surprised in particular by their decision today?
I am.
And do you regret nominating them?
I don't want to say whether or not I regret. I think their decision was terrible.
3 simple fixes that make people listen to you instantly. Your message falls flat for 3.
Yeah. I think it's an embarrassment to their families. You want to know the truth? The 2 of them. Yeah.
On that $2,000 tariff check.
Mr. President,
I didn't call you.
You didn't call me?
Yeah, Mr. President, to be clear, do you believe at the end of implementing these new tariff tools, the tariff rate and tariffs will ultimately be higher than they currently are?
Potentially higher. How much higher? It depends, whatever we want them to be. But we want them to be fair for other countries. And, you know, we have some countries that have treated us really badly for years, and it's going to be high for them. And we have other countries that have been very good, and it's going to be very reasonable for them. Yeah.
So specifically on the tariffs question, I mean on the $2,000.
I didn't call you.
Mr. President, thank you, Mr. President. Do you have any plans to travel to India for the Quad Summit, and how do you think your relationship with India is right now?
I think my relationship with India is fantastic, and we're doing trade with India. India pulled out of Russia. You know, India was getting its oil from Russia, right? And they pull way back at my request because we want to settle that horrible war where 25,000 people are dying every month.
Damn.
And my relationship with Prime Minister Modi is, I would say, great. I also stopped a war between India and Pakistan, as you know. There were 10 planes we shot down. That war was going and probably going nuclear. And just yesterday, the Prime Minister of Pakistan said President Trump saved 35 million lives by getting them to stop. That's and I did it largely with tariffs. I said, look, you're going to fight, that's fine, but you're not going to do business with the United States, and you're going to pay a 200% tariff, each country. And they called up and they said, we have made peace. Okay? I just want to thank you all. Look, great certainty has been brought back to the economy of the United States and actually the economy of the world, because we generate so much in the world. We're the biggest in the world, and we're now the strongest by far. We were a country that was dead 1.5 years ago. Now we have the hottest country in the world. We're going to keep it that way. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Y'all already know that Trump do whatever he want to do. Y'all already know that. Like, ain't no use of all that going back and forth, debating or this or that. Y'all already know, man, Trump do whatever he want to do, bro. And they can't stop that, bro. They can't stop that. But look, I got another banger for y'all. Let's stay lit, man. Let's turn up. Let's go.
And for those people watching on television, the Economic Club of Chicago and Bloomberg both invited Vice President Harris to a similar interview about her economic plans that she has declined so far. And second, just to set some parameters about this interview, which I was just discussing with President Trump, we're going to focus on business and the economy. And that's partly because this is a business audience, but it's also because voters insist that the economy is the main issue that matters when they vote. So, on that note, let me invite onto the stage President Trump.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Have a seat.
I like that crowd. That's a nice group of people. Thank you very much.
Standing ovation.
Thank you.
President Trump, thank you for doing this, as we said, and you had the reception there. The business people of Chicago, like everywhere else, they like a lot of the things you want to do in terms of tax cuts and some of the spending proposals, but like many business people, what they're often worried about is the cost.
Mm-hmm.
And the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, which is a bipartisan outfit, put out some predictions the other day. If you add up all the promises you've made, and your plans would add $7.5 trillion to the debt. That's more than twice the total for Vice President Harris. you're on course to push up debt up to 150% of GDP. This is a very business-like audience.
Yeah.
Why should they trust you with that?
Because we're about growth. She's got no growth whatsoever, and we're all about growth. We're going to bring companies back to our country. You look at even today, as I was driving over, I see these empty, old, beautiful, like steel mills and factories that are empty and falling down. Some have been converted to senior citizens' homes, but that's not going to do the trick. And we're going to bring the companies back. We're going to lower taxes still further for companies that are going to make their product in the USA. We're going to protect those companies with strong tariffs, because I'm a believer in tariffs. I'm not sure that you are. I don't think you are, but I congratulate you on your career. But to me, the most beautiful word in the
He said, "I
dictionary is tariff."
congratulate you on your career."
Instagram teen accounts have
That
content
nigga
settings
is
on
crazy,
by default,
Mo.
now inspired by 13+ movie ratings, and a stricter setting for parents who prefer extra control. Automatic protections for the content teens can see.
Peter Piper's pepper picking proved painful.
They got to throw all these motherfucking commercials up in this jump, bro.
So he ordered.
Listen, man, y'all know Trump rules the world. Trump do whatever the fuck he want to do, and that's what it is until he get out the office. So just put that money up because it's about to get serious.
Public relations firm. Just to help us, but to me, it's the most beautiful word in the dictionary.
Tariffs, do you think that will bring in the revenues? To use another bipartisan group,
Yeah,
Peterson Institute, they say they only bring in $200 billion. That is that's barely the cost of 2 of your promises.
Yeah, but that's like for what company are you talking about? Okay, look, I've brought in with tariffs, and I was just getting started. Then COVID came, and we had because I tell you what, I did a very good job in COVID. Nobody knew what the hell it was. I call it the China virus because I like being a little more accurate. But when that came, but we got hundreds of billions of dollars just from China alone, and I hadn't even started yet. But tariffs are two things if you look at it. Number one is for protection of the companies that we have here and the new companies that will move in, because we're going to have thousands
new companies that
go
move in
this country. We're going to grow it like it's never grown before, and we're going to protect them when they come in, because we're not going to have somebody undercut them. And I could give you an example of this if you want. Would you like me to? Because it just
give me a quick example, then I will come back.
I just found out about it. So I've been talking about for the last year about Detroit and how horribly it has been. You know, it's just horrible, because we've been talking about Detroit's coming back for 40 years, and it's never come back. And it's very dependent on the car industry. Well, they've lost 60% of the business over a long period of time. And what happened is I found out a friend of mine builds auto plants. That's all he does. He builds auto plants. That's what he's good at. He doesn't want to build an apartment. All he wants to build is, and he builds the biggest in the world. And for the last year and a half, if anybody's heard me speak, I was talking about Mexico as a tremendous challenge for us right now. Tremendous. China is building massive auto plants in Mexico. And they're going to build them, and they're going to take those cars and sell them into the United States. They're very near the border, and they're going to have all the advantages and none of the disadvantages. And that's going to be the end of Michigan. It's going to be the end of, frankly, South Carolina. Going to be the end of everything. So I've been talking about this, and I said to him about 9 months ago, I said, you know what? I want you to do me a favor, John. His name is John. I don't want to give his last name because he might not like it.
Because he might not like it.
I want to see an auto plant. I want to go and see one of these. You know, you press a button and everything works, right? I want to see one of the big ones. He said, all right, good. I said, where do we go? I'd like to go to Michigan. I'd like to go to someplace in the United States. He said, no, we can't do that. Why? We're not building anything big in the United States. That's not where we don't build the big ones here. I said, where are you building the biggest ones? He said, in Mexico. We're building giant plants, the biggest plants anywhere in the world.
In Mexico.
In Mexico, I said.
That's
so you
crazy.
mean they're going to make cars cheaply? They have advantages over labor and other things.
Yeah.
And they're going to sell them into the United States.
Yeah.
And they're going to put Michigan out of business. Is that what? I don't know anything about that. All I do is build the plants. If you want to see a plant, we'll go to Mexico. I'll show you the biggest plant in the world.
That's crazy.
That was 9 months ago.
That was a smart move,
I saw
though.
him, and I talked about it all the time because I think it's a serious threat
They're going to
to our
get that
country.
shit done.
Not only autos, but other
saying.
things. So then I see him 2 days ago, I was talking at another club, very nice club.
Nah, for real.
And like this.
That was a smart move.
I don't know. I think you people are probably even wealthier. Okay, this was in Detroit. Okay, which was appropriate. And I was showing them all sorts of charts about how their car, it's just gone down. It's like terrible. And I saw him, and I said, "Oh, how are you doing? How have you been?" I said, "Could I ask you, how are those plants that you mentioned, those giant plants that you're building in Mexico, how is that coming along? Have you finished them?" "No, sir. They abandoned the project when they heard you're running. They abandoned the project when they saw that you were winning and doing well." I said, "Wow."
All the same.
Because I told them, and I said it publicly, they're not going to sell one car into the United States. I said, if I run this country, if I'm going to be president of this country, I'm going to put a 100, 200, 2,000% tariff. They're not going to sell one car into the United States because we're not going to destroy our country. Because I know you're an anti-tariff guy, but I'm the exact opposite. There was no other way I could have stopped them other than, what am I going to do, negotiate with Mexico or China? You're not going to get anything from that. I said I'm going to put a 100, 200, or 300. I'm going to put the highest tariff in history, meaning I'm going to stop them from ever selling a car into the United States. So I just see the guy by accident. I see him. He says, "Sir, they've abandoned it." And by the way, they built foundations. They were really rocking. They were going to do it. They thought that I was going to win, or maybe they're just holding off. I tell you this. If I don't win, those factories are going to wipe out this country. They're the biggest factories ever built for cars. They're going to wipe out our country. If she wins, and she doesn't know what the hell she's doing. If she wins, she's not going to be thinking about, I couldn't, every speech I made having to do with cars, but every speech I made having to do with tariffs, I'd mentioned that our country is being threatened by Mexico. Now, all of those things, beyond even the car companies, all of those things are now dead. They're dead. I asked him, will they start? Probably not. They're dead as a doornail. If she gets in, it'll start up again.
President Trump, I let you give your example.
No,
you talked a lot about tariffs. You look at the American economy, 40 million jobs rely on trade. It counts for 27% of GDP.
Okay.
If you cut that off, that's also going to have an effect on many, many business people here.
Yeah.
Tariffs also have another side. Isn't that something that you have to acknowledge?
No.
You could be plunging America into the biggest trade war since Smoot-Hawley.
But there are no tariffs.
You're going to stop. There are tariffs already at the moment.
There are no tariffs. All you
That
have to
nigga
do is
don't
build
care
your
about
plant
shit,
in the
though.
United States, and you don't
They
have
don't care
any
about
tariffs.
nothing.
People,
This
a
is
lot
what
of
I
places,
want.
a lot of places like this, there are a lot of jobs that rely on foreigners coming here. You're going to basically stop trade with China. You're talking about 60% trade on that, 60% tariffs on that. You're
That's
talking,
why I
as you
played
said,
this
100,
joint right here,
200%
y'all.
on things
That's why I played
you don't
this
really
joint.
like.
I
You're
be
also
doing
talking
my
about 10,
investigation.
20% tariffs
Read
on the
that.
rest
I
of
know
the
what
world.
I'm doing.
That is going to have a serious effect
Thank
on the
y'all for
overall
supporting
economy.
me, man.
And yes,
That's
you're
it.
going to find some people who will gain from individual tariffs. The overall effect could be massive in terms of the economy.
I agree. It's going to have a massive effect.
And start the clock. MailerLite helps you grow sales and save time with email. So we're going to keep this quick. Here's how we can.
Positive effect. It's going to be a positive, not a negative.
Well,
let me just let me tell you. I know
example.
how committed you are to this, and it
My
must
man
be
said,
hard
no,
for
no,
you to
no, no.
spend 25 years talking about tariffs as being negative, and then have somebody explain to you that you're totally wrong. It'll have a negative. It will have. I'll go a step further. If you don't do this, this country has no chance.
40 million jobs is a lot of jobs to rely on trade.
They're all coming back.
Those are 40 million jobs. Those are 40 million jobs in America that rely on trade.
Are you ready? John Deere, great company. They announced about a year ago they're going to build big plants outside of the United States, right?
Let me tell you.
Build them in Mexico.
And you threatened
They're also
them
going to build.
and they stopped.
That's right. I said, if John Deere builds those plants and not selling anything into the United States, they just announced yesterday they're probably not going to build the plants, okay? I kept the jobs here, and I'll keep them. John Deere will stay here. And I'll tell John Deere, if you do build outside of the United States, you can if you want. For instance, India is a very tough country. It's not only China. You know, China is the, I would say, probably the toughest. But there are a lot of tough. You know what's very tough? European Union. Our beautiful European countries. Wonderful, wonderful. If you add them up, they're almost the size of us. They
Only thing you
treat
gotta
us
do is
so
pay
badly.
attention,
We have a
homie.
deficit.
You'll catch on.
I said to Angela
This
Merkel
shit
when she was
serious though.
there, she's not there
That's
anymore.
why
I
I
wonder
play
why.
it.
But
Because it makes
when
sense.
she was there, I said, Angela, how many Chevrolets do we have in Berlin? Why, Donald, you have none. He said, that's right. How many Fords do we have in Frankfurt? I don't know. None. I said, that's right. You know how many cars we have? Mercedes-Benz, BMW, all of the Volkswagen, millions and millions of cars. And then I said farm products. You know, they don't want our farm. They don't want anything from us. We have deficits that are crazy. And we're not going to have them anymore. We're going to put tariffs on them, and they're going to do, and you know what they can do? The Mercedes-Benz will start building in the United States. And they have a little bit, but you know what they really are? Assembly, like in South Carolina. But they build everything in Germany, and then they assemble it here. They get away with murder because they say, oh, yes, we're building cars. They don't build cars. They take them out of a box and they assemble them. We could have our child do it.
Can we come back? Let's come back to the Europeans in a second. What about consumers? People out there.
They're going to be the biggest beneficiaries.
Critics say your tariffs will end up being like a national sales tax. Because the countries if you have America at the moment has $3 trillion worth of imports. You're going to add tariffs to every single one of them. That is going to push up the cost for all those people who want to buy foreign goods.
No. What's going to happen?
That is just simple mathematics, President Trump.
It's not. Yeah, it is, but not the way you figure it. I was always very good at mathematics.
Yes.
Let me tell you, you're saying $3 trillion.
That's
Those companies,
$3 trillion worth of imports.
And they don't have to pay. And if the higher the tariff, the more likely it is to have them come into the country.
The higher the tariff, the more you're going to put on the value of those goods, the higher people are going to have to pay in shops.
Ready? The higher the tariff, the more likely it is that the company will come into the United States and build a factory in the United States so it doesn't have to pay the tariff.
That will take many, that will take many years.
In fact, I'll tell you, you know, there's another theory is that the tariff, you make it so high, so horrible, so obnoxious that they'll come right away. When I do the 10%, 10% is really, first of all, 10% when you collect it is hundreds of billions of dollars. The numbers that you're talking, all reducing our deficit. But really, so there's two ways of looking at a tariff. You can do it as a money-making instrument, or you can do it as something to get the companies. Now, if you want the companies to come in, the tariff has to be a lot higher than 10%, because 10% is not enough. Guys, they're not going to do it for 10. But you make a 50% tariff, they're going to come in. Let me tell you the other thing about tariffs that's great. Our steel companies, as you know, 3-4 years ago, they were all when I was in office, I saw a man from a big steel company, and he was devastated. I knew him for a long time, and it's been a tough business. It was a great business many years ago, and I would not let U.S. steel be sold to Japanese, by the way. Psychologically, I think it would be
That's the Nippon steel, as you know.
Yeah, I wouldn't let it be sold. But I would stop it if it hasn't been completed by the time I'm president, because I think it sets a horrible tone. But I had a lot to do with steel. We were going to lose all our steel companies because China, as you remember, was dumping steel at levels that nobody's ever seen before.
Damn.
And I put a 50% tax on that and tariff on that, all dumped steel. And it was also bad steel.
I put a 50% tax on that.
It wasn't good steel, which is a bad thing for structural components of buildings and planes and things like that. They were dumping crap into our country. And I put a 50% tariff. I started at 25, I raised it to 50 because the 25 didn't quite do it. I raised it to 50 and that did it. They stopped dumping steel. And I saved our steel mills by having that. We saved it. We saved our steel. Now, what was left, because we've lost so much, but there are certain companies you have to have. There are certain things you have to have. Steel, you have to have. If you go to war, you know, there's a possibility you go to war. I kept us out of war. I was the only president in 82 years that kept you out of a war, except I defeated ISIS, but I inherited that war. There's no wars.
Peter Piper's pepper picking proved painful. So he ordered the supplies he needed from Amazon Business. Peter Piper picked peppers for Run Rock Rhyme. And positively prospered. Amazon Business, your partner for smart business buying.
Set the scene for one of the winners. Always better to talk.
Yeah, y'all already know Trump want to do whatever he want to do. Yeah. Nah, for real. Y'all already know Trump do whatever he want to do.
And I think it's very important. You can go, I call it the weave. You can call it, you have the weave as long as you end up in the right location at the end. But while we're talking about it, we have never been so close to World War III as we are right now. With what's going on in Ukraine and Russia and the Middle East.
Well, let's.
I had no wars in the whole world. Think of it. And I talked them out of wars. I talked plenty of countries out of wars. I had the whole world, other than ISIS, which I inherited.
Fact, right?
And I knocked out ISIS in a matter of weeks. It was supposed to take 4 to 5 years. I did it in a matter of weeks. We actually have a great military. We don't know how to use it, but we have a great
President Trump, with great respect, I was asking about tariffs. You've gone off about that. Seeing you brought up tariffs and foreign policy, many people would say the biggest problem with your tariffs is actually geopolitics. You, in your first term, you got some credit for effectively saying that there was a Cold War against China. That's what America was in. If you look at the last Cold War against the Soviet Union, America won it in part because it rallied allies to it. You're talking about slamming allies with 30%, 20% tariffs. Isn't this time you're going to end up trying to rally the West and you're dividing it instead? Isn't that the real problem with tariffs, even beyond all the problems due to the economy, where you keep on bringing out these individual examples, but the overall effect is going to be dramatic.
No, the overall effect will
answer first about foreign policy.
Yeah, I'll do that.
How does it help you? I
do that.
Allies against
tremendously. Because China thinks we're a stupid country, a very stupid country. They can't believe that somebody finally got wise to them. Not one president, Bush, Obama, Barack Hussein Obama, have you heard of him?
Oh, have you heard of him?
Did you hear that bullshit? Not one president charged China anything. They said, oh, they are a third world nation, they're a developing. Well, we're a developing nation too. Take a look at Detroit. Take a look at our cities. We're a developing nation. We have to develop more than they do. We're way behind them. You take a look at what's happened to our cities. So what I'm saying is
my
this.
question was about your allies, not about China. You are going to rally.
Look at Trump trying to switch it up.
But our allies have taken advantage of us more so than our enemies. Our allies are the European Union. We have a trade deficit of $300 billion with the European Union. Our allies are Japan. You know, Abe was a very good friend of mine. He was a great guy, great. And I said to him in Japan, he was assassinated. And he was a great man. He really was. I didn't see too many like him. And he got very sick and he had to take off. And then he was actually making a comeback. He was going to make a comeback and he would have won easily. But he was a great gentleman, handsome, wonderful man, respected by everybody. And I went to him and I said, Shinzo, we have to talk. What? Trade. And he goes, I'll never forget it. I know. I said, what do you know? I knew you'd come to me. Why do you say that?
At all.
Because I can't believe, I wouldn't tell the story if he was alive, actually. Said, I can't believe how many years it's been that nobody even negotiated with us in America. I said, Shinzo, you have to pay for your cars. You're sending millions of cars. You don't accept a car from us. You don't have one car that you accept, and yet we're selling 3 million, 4 million of your cars. I said, Shinzo, on agriculture, you won't even accept our agriculture. And I renegotiated the whole trade deal from a little disadvantage because I was stuck with a bad deal. I mean, I got stuck. We have trade deals that were so bad that I said, who are the people that are doing it? They're either very stupid or they're getting paid off. Okay? It's one or the other. It's very simple. We have the worst trade deals all over the world. South Korea, I love South Korea. They're wonderful people, extremely ambitious. They have a money machine. We protect them from North Korea and other people.
I know, because he explained it like shit, ain't he?
Very well. Kim Jong-un. But wait, they don't pay us anything. And I said, this is crazy. If I didn't put tariffs on, you know, the motor companies, the car companies, they make most of their money at small trucks. I put tariffs on China, but I put 27.5%.
He's talking about.
Otherwise, we'd be flooded with Chinese cars. And all of our factories were closed. We'd have no jobs at all in the auto industry.
Over here.
That goes for electric, by the way, which is a killer, which I've explained, and I don't think I have to bore anybody by talking about it. But I put tariffs on South Korea
and it's not
because they were sending in trucks. and I put tariffs on, fairly substantial
For
tariffs.
real, bro.
Do you
It's
know
not
that our
no.
car companies make almost all of their money with
That
the
nigga
small
done took over
trucks,
the show.
SUVs and small trucks? If I took those tariffs on, you would be inundated. Every car company would be out of
You talk
business.
about me, homie.
And I got calls from
Bless your heart.
Ford. I got calls from everybody saying, sir, I can't believe you're doing this for us. You saved our company. They make all their money with this. They make most of their money with the small truck and, the SUVs.
Many consumers ended up with more expensive cars. But let me just come at you on foreign policy.
You wouldn't have a car company.
You have said that Taiwan should pay for U.S. protection.
Yeah.
I ask because this morning you just mentioned North Korea. The Chinese army, literally as we speak, are engaged in rehearsals for a full naval blockade of Taiwan. So I suppose my question to you, if China invades Taiwan, would you send American troops to defend it?
Well, the reason they're doing it now is they're not going to do it afterwards, okay? It's, so they're doing it now. They want to do it China. Look, I had a very good relationship with President Xi, and a very good relationship with Putin, and a very good relationship with Kim Jong-un, who has a nuclear force that you won't even believe. And by the way, today it was announced with us that he just blew up the railroad going into South Korea. That means South Korea is now cut off
He is a businessman,
from Russia and China and various other places. Cut off by rail.
President Trump, you just mentioned.
No, but
Putin.
these are big things. I have to mention them.
Yeah, you just mentioned Putin, though, and this has been this controversy of the past week. Can you say yes or no whether you've talked to Vladimir Putin since you stopped being president?
Well, I don't comment on that, but I will tell you that if I did, it's a smart thing. If I'm friendly with people, if I have a relationship with people, that's a good thing, not a bad thing in terms of the country. He's got 2,000 nuclear weapons, and so do we. China has a lot less, but they'll catch us within 5 years.
That sounds
If
very
I
much
have a
like,
relationship, I don't talk about that.
You talk about talking to Netanyahu, you talk
but
about
I can
talking
tell you
to
what,
these people.
Russia has never had a president that they respect so much, but more importantly, or less importantly, I guess, I went into Russia.
Peter Piper's pepper picking proved painful. So he ordered.
But like a lot of people voted for him, right? So by a lot of people that voted for him, they mad at him right now because they thought Trump was going to do something real big for them, and he didn't. Because guess what? He already had a trick on his sleeve anyway of what he was going to do. You better pay attention.
Likes him. Let me tell you, the first thing I did was terminated Nord Stream 2. Nobody ever heard of Nord Stream 2. It's a pipeline from Russia to Germany and all over Europe. I said, wait a minute, to NATO. I said, so let's get this straight. My first meeting, I said, so Putin's building the biggest pipeline in the world. He's going to Germany, but all over Europe. And you're paying him billions of dollars a year, billions of dollars a month. You're paying, Germany's paying billions of dollars a month. And we're supposed to protect you against a guy that you're paying all this money to.
Good for you.
Is there something wrong with my thinking? So
good for you.
He's building a pipeline to Germany, and we're spending. And by the way, until I got there, we were spending almost 100% for NATO because we had all these delinquent countries that weren't paying. When I got there, I said, you know what? And by the way, my biggest fan is Stoltenberg, just leaving, Secretary General of NATO. He said when Bush came in, he made a speech and left. When Obama came in, he made a speech and left. When Trump came in, he made a speech and he said, let me see your books. And I found out in the books that nobody was paying. There were only 7 countries that were paying. We were supporting NATO. They screw us on trade so bad, the European nations. And then on top of that, they were screwing us on the military. So they're taking a tremendous advantage of us, $350 billion deficit on trade. And we're then supporting them. In other words, it's not sustainable. You can't keep doing this. You can't have that, China, all of these countries. And stupid people made these deals. I saw trade deals that were so stupid that you'd have to be, that was so bad that you'd have to be an idiot to sign them. And we signed them for years. We had, I could tell you trade deals that I have never seen anything. I said, who would agree to this? They had to be corrupt. They had to be corrupt. To make those deals, they had to be corrupt because there is no way a rational human being, I always say either corrupt or extremely stupid, because there's no way a rational human being would ever sign the trade deals that this country signed. And I got out of many of those deals. I told South Korea, I'm sorry, you're going to have to pay for your military. We have 40,000 troops over there. You're going to have to pay. You become a very wealthy country. Just to finish, you become a very wealthy. They said, no, 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 we will not pay. We will not. We haven't paid since the Korean War. I said, no, you got to pay. I said, would $5 billion a year to start off with? No, no, they went crazy. They agreed to $2. I got $2 billion for nothing. And I said, here's what we're going to do. They said, we can't agree to this because we have to go through Parliament. They have the Parliament or whatever their legislature is. I said, that's okay. I fully understand that. Make it $2 billion. But next year I'm going to talk to you again. And I was going to make it $5 billion. And they knew it was coming. The happiest people to see that it was Biden instead of Trump with them, South Korea. You know what they did? They cut off the deal that I made where they were paying us. They backed to nothing because they went back to Biden and they gave it to him for nothing. They were willing to pay. We have 40,000 troops in harm's way. Very serious, because you have North Korea is a very serious power. They have tremendous nuclear power. And I said to South Korea, you got to pay. And they agreed to do it. And Biden then cut it back, and it's a shame. And I can tell you, 50 deals. And if I were there now, they'd be paying us $10 billion a year.
Damn, $10 billion a year.
It's a money machine.
That's a lot of
South
money,
Korea.
bro.
You're going to mention Taiwan. You wanted to mention Taiwan.
You mentioned Taiwan. You said you would defend them. You also seemed to imply that on Putin, you would not. Putin, you seemed to imply that you had talked to him without actually confirming it.
I said I don't comment on those things.
What about? Can I ask you a particular thing about the dollar? You talked about wars at the New York Economic Club. You said that if you lost the dollar as a reserve currency, it would be like America losing
stupid?
a war.
No. Hey.
Look at what you're going to do in terms of protectionism. Drive countries to use the other currencies. And all that debt is also going to lessen the dollar's status as the world's reserve currency.
If
Don't you worry about
the
that?
dollar is so secure, your reserve currency is the strongest it'll ever be. And
you say President Trump, at the moment there is a thing called the Trump trade in the markets. Do you know what that is? The Trump trade is very simple. People are betting that your policies are going to drive up debt, they're going to drive up inflation, so they're going to drive up interest rates. Are the investors wrong?
Yeah, I had 4 years no inflation. I had 4 years no inflation.
But that was when you had much.
I had 4 years.
If you're looking to learn how to trade, a community is very important.
And Biden, who has no idea where the hell he is, okay? Biden went 2 years with no inflation because he inherited from me. And then they started spending money like drunken sailors.
Cigarettes is a $1 million business.
It was so ridiculous, the money they were spending.
Cigarettes is $1 million business,
on the
bro.
Green New Scam.
That's a big move. Them cigarettes is a big move, bro.
It was conceived of by AOC plus 3. She never even studied the environment in college. She went to a nice college.
They said, thanks, Trump. You funny.
She came out, she just said, the Green New Scam. She just named all these things.
President Trump, the issue, the markets are looking at the fact you are making all these promises. Latest one was car loans. You're flooding the thing with giving giveaways.
But we're going to grow.
I was actually quite kind to you. I used 7 trillion. The upper estimate is 15 trillion. People like the Wall Street Journal, who's hardly a communist organization,
but you don't know.
They have criticized you on this as well. You are running up enormous debts.
What does the Wall Street Journal know? I'm meeting with them tomorrow. What does the Wall Street Journal know? They've been wrong about everything. So have you. You've been wrong.
You're trying to turn this.
You've been wrong.
You're trying to turn this into debate. There are business people.
But you're wrong. You've been wrong. You've been wrong all your life on this stuff. You've been wrong. Let me tell you about currency. You're going to jump in a lot of different subjects.
The
reserve currency. Let's stick to reserve currency. That's where you started, right? The reserve currency is under threat because you have Iran, you have Russia, you have China. China's the one that you have to worry about because they want it. They want to have the yuan be the thing of power. So here's what I'm doing. Again,
here's what I'm doing.
If somebody says, and I know countries want to get out because they don't respect our leadership, they look at this guy, they say, you got to be kidding, and she's worse than him. By the way, I never thought I'd say this. She is not as smart as Biden, if you can believe it. This is not what we had 4 years of this lunacy, and we can't have it anymore. We're not going to have a country left. Okay, currency, very important.
Yes.
And if you want to go to third world status, lose your reserve currency. We have to have that. We cannot lose it. If you you'll go to third world status in this country because you take a look at the way things are running. If a country tells me, sir, we like you very much, but we're going to no longer adhere to being in the reserve currency. We're not going to salute the dollar anymore. I'll say, that's okay. And you're going to pay a 100% tariff on everything you sell into the United States. And we love your product. I hope you sell a lot of it into the United States, but you're going to pay 100% tariff. He will then follow it up by saying, sir, it would be an honor to stay with the reserve currency. That will be like just playing. That's not even chess, that's checkers. But you don't have other, listen to this, you don't have other people that can talk that way. You know, a lot of people say, we love Trump's policy, but we would like to have another messenger because we don't like him. He's a little bit crass. And then, actually, it was Lindsey Graham, I must say. He was a progressive, in all fairness. But Lindsey Graham said, but Trump's policy doesn't work with that, Trump. And there's a lot of truth to that. Macron was going to, nice guy, Emmanuel. He's a wise guy, but he's for France, and we're for the USA. You know this story. He was going to tax American companies doing business in France. A very substantial tax. And I told my people, I didn't even like the companies, but I'm representing American companies in this country. So I said, call Macron and call his people and say we're not going to stand for that. And I got Mnuchin,
business, though.
You know, a lot of guys, smart guys.
Trump
if I can
definitely
finish,
business. I ain't
I'll go longer
that.
if you want. If
no,
it helps, because you got to be able to finish. You move too quick. No, you got to be able to finish a thought because it's very important. You know, this is big stuff we're talking about. You can't go that quickly.
You've gone from the dollar to
so let me just tell you.
One man said
so
you got to learn how to listen.
I'm just
Jesus,
telling you
he
basic.
can't stop.
It's
He
called
ain't
the
gonna
weave.
stop.
It's all these different things happening. So
Look, he's saying.
let me just say. So I said to Mnuchin, call him up and say, no way. He did, and he came back to see me. He said, they won't do it, sir. It's too late. I said to somebody else, you call him. Then I said, let me do it. And I called
Let
him.
me do it.
And I said, Emmanuel, you're taxing American companies very substantially. You're not doing it with other companies. You must think we're stupid. It's not going to happen. But Donald, I cannot do anything. It's too late. Or it was approved by a legislature. I said, that's okay. Here's the story. Every bottle of wine and champagne that you send into the United States, effective immediately, and I'm signing it as I speak, I'm charging you 100% on every bottle of wine and champagne. You know, they like the wine and champagne, right? Every bottle of wine and champagne that comes into the United States of America has a tax on, starting on Monday morning, this was a Friday, of 100%. And that's better than you're doing, okay? And he said, no, you cannot do that. I said, I've done it. It's already signed. Monday morning, goes, may I call you back? Yes, he calls me back in about 3 minutes. We have decided to remove the tax from the companies. I did this all day long, but you don't have. You think Biden does that? I don't think so.
Let me change. Let me ask you a very factual question.
He is though, right?
The Federal Reserve.
Crazy.
Yeah. You say you don't want interest rates to go higher.
Trump
You've gone backwards and forwards about whether you want to keep Jerome Powell as chair of the Federal Reserve. His term as chair runs on to May 2026. Would you seek to remove or demote him?
Look, I think it's the greatest job in government.
Look at the nigga
You show
hands,
up to the office once a month, and you say, let's see, flip a coin. And everybody talks about you like you're a god. Oh, what will he do? I mean, before, the guy used to walk into my office, he was like begging. Oh, he was fine.
But you did talk about, you talked about removing him once.
I did, because he was keeping the rates too high. And I was right.
And you would do that again?
In fact, he actually dropped them too much when I did this. Because I said I was threatening to terminate him. There was a question as to whether or not you could. And there was an article in the New York Times, 2 half pages. 1 page said I can do it by lawyers. 1 half page said I couldn't. and that was enough for him. And he dropped the hell out of the rates. He dropped them too much. He went so he dropped them actually too much. Okay, here's the story.
See,
I think that if you're a very good president with good sense, you should be able to at least talk to him. I don't say make the decision at all, but I mean, I've been a very successful businessman. I've done really good, much better. Now people are understanding how good I've done because they're seeing it. Much better than the fake news wants to give me credit for.
Just on
really
the issue
good,
of whether you would replace
I think
him.
I have the right to say, as a very good businessman and somebody that's used a lot of sense, I think I have the right to say that, you know, I think I'm better than he would be. I think I'm better than most people would be in that position. I think I have the right to say I think you should go up or down a little bit. I don't think I should be allowed to order it, but I think I have the right to put in comments as to whether or not interest rates should go up or down. Yeah.
When you looked at the Supreme Court, you came up with a list of people who you thought of replacing, bringing in as Supreme Court justices.
Yeah.
Would you do that with the Federal Reserve?
Well, I no longer need it. It was a great thing. In fact, a lot of people said I got elected because of that. I was an unknown quantity. I was very known as a business guy, but I wasn't known as a political person or the leader of a country. And people were very worried about, you know, actually they were worried, am I going to be liberal, if you want to know the truth? And somebody said, would you come up with a list of 20 or 25 justices, in this case mostly judges, that you'd put in case it were necessary? Now, it's amazing because I got 3 in 4 years. Most people get none. Because, you know, you put them in the young, you tend to put them in young. Only stupid people put old. You know, you don't put old in because they're there for 2 years or 3 years. Right? So you put them in young. So I got 3. A lot of judges, a lot of presidents get none. I got 3. And I think they've been 3 great choices too, by the way. But by the way, I think they have been really great choices. But I got 3 judges, and you know what they want to do? They want to now put up to 25 justices into the Supreme Court, the radical left, and that can't happen. So I think I've done a great job on putting in justices and 300 judges, and that made a tremendous difference in the country. You know, I was a little lucky because Barack Hussein Obama did not get his judges approved, a lot of them. So I ended up with 125 judges before I got there. So again, most presidents don't even get to put a Supreme Court judge in because there's 9, and you know they're there for a long time. Most of them are there for a very long time. And I got 3, which is a very unusual situation. I got 3 in 4 years.
Maybe we can change the subject to technology, seeing you wouldn't answer about the Federal Reserve. The US Justice Department is thinking about breaking up Alphabet, as Google likes to be known now. Should Google be broken up?
I just haven't gotten over something the Justice Department did yesterday, where Virginia cleaned up its voter rolls and got rid of thousands and thousands of bad votes, and the Justice Department sued them that they should be allowed to put those bad votes and illegal votes back in and let the people vote. So I haven't gotten over that. A lot of people have seen that. They can't even believe it.
The question is about Google, President Trump.
Yeah, look, Google's got a lot of power. They're very bad to me.
The question is about Google, Mr. Trump.
I can speak from that standpoint. They only have bad stories. In other words, if I have 20 good stories and 20 bad stories, and everyone's entitled to that, you'll only see the 20 bad stories. And I called the head of Google the other day, and I said, I'm getting a lot of good stories lately, but you don't find them in Google. I think it's a whole rigged deal. I think Google's rigged just like our government is rigged all over the place.
So you would break them up, in other words?
I'd do something, but you have to have, look, I give them a lot of credit. They've become such a power. It's such a power, and you got to give them credit for that. How they became a power is, you know, really the discussion. At the same time, it's a very dangerous thing because we want to have great companies. We don't want China to have these companies. Right now, China is afraid of Google. Right now, you know, China is a very powerful, very smart group of people. I will tell you that from very personal experience.
There's an example of a Chinese tech company at the moment,
Yeah.
TikTok.
Yeah.
You initially wanted to ban TikTok. Now you like it, apparently for some reason to do with Facebook.
Yeah.
There is a decision coming up, if you became president,
Yeah.
its Chinese parent would have to sell it, I think it's by
Yeah.
January the 19th. Would you force them to do that?
So I originally had it all done, and then I said to Congress, your decision. I said, I'm not going to, pull any strings, nothing. Your decision. You make it. But I had it all done. And I said, you make it. And they decided not to make it. I didn't care if they made it or not, because to me it was a flip of a coin. You have some real First Amendment problems. You have a lot of problems.
You just talked about Chinese technology, the need to defend against it.
Yeah.
TikTok and the threat people see to many kind of American children and things like that.
Yeah, but
why do you no longer see TikTok as a security threat?
I think it is a threat. Frankly, I think everything's a threat. There's nothing that's not a threat. But sometimes you have to fight through these threats. You can't just, like Google. I'm not a fan of Google. They treat me badly. But are you going to destroy the company by doing that? If you do that, are you going to destroy the company? What you can do without breaking it up is make sure that it's more fair. They do treat me very badly. Oh, and he told me, no way, you're the #1 person on all of Google for stories. I mean, which probably makes sense, to be honest with you. I actually believe most of them are bad stories, but these are minor details, right? And it's only bad because of the fake news, because the news is really fake. That's the one we really have to straighten. We have to straighten out our press, because we have a corrupt press. That's the one we really have to straighten.
Can I ask you about Silicon? I was in Silicon Valley recently. You talked to the tech bosses there and the tech people, and there seems to be a real fear that what you would do with tech is you would hand it over to Elon Musk and say, you sort it out.
No, I have great respect for Elon. Look, I saw that rocket ship come in yesterday and go right back to where it took off, to the gantry, I guess they call it. And I said, what the hell? I was on a phone talking about probably politics, and the television's on.
Instagram teen accounts have content settings on by default, now inspired by 13+ movie ratings, and a stricter setting for parents who prefer extra control.
Man, y'all know Trump is not going to stop. Trump will keep doing whatever the fuck he want to do. Y'all know that. Let's go.
From that, thousands of miles an hour, the heat. And I see this big, massive tube that's 10 stories, 20 stories tall come down. I told the person on the phone, wait a minute, I'm seeing something I don't believe it. Neither does anybody else here. And I said, wait a minute. I forgot the guy was on the phone. He was waiting for a half hour. And I watched that come down. And I watched it come down and come right in between those big levers. And
I didn't, though. I never heard that neither.
It was crash. It was coming in hot. And all of a sudden, boom, you see the motor, the fire kick in. And I called Elon. I said, that's the most incredible thing. I said, can Russia do that? Nope. I said, can the United States do it? Nope. He's the only one that can do it. And I said,
you now want to put him in charge of deregulation.
Not deregulation, cutting.
Cutting wasteful spending.
Cutting.
Every single
which would include
including
deregulation.
I've
got to approve it.
Every president comes in and talks about cutting wasteful spending.
Oh, there's tremendous ways.
Give me an example of something you will do that will get rid of government spending.
Well, let me give you an example. When I came into government, I was the first thing.
An example going forward.
Well,
not
but
what you did in the past.
This is going forward because it's the same thing. When I first sat down, a general came into my office and he said, "Sir, it's nice to meet you. Would you please sign this?" I said, "What is it?" "It's a contract for a new Air Force One, which is actually 2 planes, not one, 2 Boeing 747. And I said, "How much is it?" $5.7 billion. It's a hell of an expensive plane, but there's reasons for that. He said, "Nope, I'm not signing it." I said, "Who negotiated it?" "Barack Hussein Obama." I said, "I'm not signing it." "Why?" Because
no way,
there's a lot of fat. He said, "I'm not signing. It's got to have a 3 on it." Anyway, long story short, some of you have heard this.
No way. He's
I got
not
it down
the best president.
Because first week they cut off $400 million. He said, I'll cut. I met with the head of Boeing. Wait, Dennis. I said, Dennis, you got to have a 3. 5.7 is too much. 5.7 billion. He said, the most I'll take off is $400 million. I said, well, that's not bad for one conversation. So he got it down. I said, nope, I'm not accepting. Then he took off 2 more. Then he took off. Anyway, 2 months went by, 3 months went by. I thought we blew the deal, and I was okay with me. I didn't care. But we should have a new Air Force One. When we see these planes from Saudi Arabia, from different countries, brand new, and ours is like 32 years old, and it's a very different plane. It's a much smaller plane, the whole thing. The United States should have the best plane, I will tell you. Not for me, but we should have it. Let me just finish. So he said, he calls up after like 2-3 months. I didn't call him, which is the best way to buy something. Don't call back. And he goes, in fact, when he called me, I said, I wonder what the hell he wants. That's a good way to negotiate, let me tell you. So he calls back, said, sir, $3,999,000,000.
Nigga, Trump getting old.
999 cents. 1 penny below $4 billion. So I said, you got yourself a deal. Then I said to him, let me ask you a question. So you had a deal at $5.7 billion, and in a period of 2 months, I got $1.7 billion off. That means you're going to make $1.7 billion profit on an airplane. Did nobody ever negotiate with you? Well, not really, sir. They just, this is the price, and they said, we'll take it. And I said, and then I learned, that was my first experience, from that. But then I learned everything is like that. There is so much waste. So I'm getting, think of this, the exact same plane for 1.7 billion less, except I have a better paint job. Okay, much better paint job. A different color, red, white, and blue is beautiful. And if you look at every contract, that's one contract, and relatively small compared to most. Think of it. You save 1.7 billion because you negotiate. Every deal is like that. We're building ships that are costing 2-3 times more.
Can you give me an example of something?
There's tremendous waste, fraud, and abuse in our country. And if you could cut it, you would have a surplus without even going into growth. But growth, we will grow. We're going to bring companies and jobs in at levels that you've never seen. And you would never be able to do it because you're not a believer in tariffs. The only way
you will never be able to do
is
it
through the threat
you're not
of
believing
tariffs.
tariffs.
It's the only way you can do it.
Can we come back to one thing on that? Deal making. You look out across this room, there's some big businesses, but a lot of small ones. You look at the way you've given us a lot of examples of things where you've negotiated with the heads of big businesses.
Right.
Give you an example, when you put the tariffs on China, much smaller than you're planning to do at the moment, when you put them on, Apple came, you negotiated a difference for them.
I did.
Trump is not the best.
That's much harder for small business people.
Isn't
the problem with the way
Trump
that you do these kind of deals? You're bound to deal with the big companies. It's the small companies who get hit by all these different things and can't find exceptions.
Oh, we have exceptions. No, we had an exception rule. I gave Apple an exception. Tim Cook is a great business.
Apple is not a small company, and please don't give it Tim Cook.
But here's what happened.
The question is about small businesses.
Yes, but I
what
would
will you
make
do
it.
for them?
But we have a very talented group of people. Bob Lighthizer did a very good job. We had great people. We had central casting. These are great, and a large group of people. We made exceptions. In the case of Apple, they needed an exception. You know why? Because of Samsung. He came to me and he said, Samsung makes a product similar to ours, very good product, the phones, and other things. And because they're in South Korea, they don't have the tariffs. Because we're in China, we have the tariffs.
You gotta
I
go
said,
do
you
your
happen to be right.
background
You're not going to be able to compete. I said, look, I'm going to give you a 1-year break, but I want you to start building your factories in this country. Whether it's Texas or any other place, anywhere.
So listen, when I show these videos to y'all, I already did my background check. I already went through the video, so I already know what's going on. Get what I'm saying? This is what I be on. Like, I'm not going to show y'all something that I don't watch. You feel me? Like, even though he talk that shit, I still go do my investigation of what he talking about. You feel what I'm saying? So I can know what's going on. That's the only thing I'm saying. But yeah, I definitely do my background check on all this shit. That's why I show y'all certain videos so y'all can understand what's going on too, because there's a lot of shit going on. Real talk.
Anywhere in the country. And he said, what does that mean? I said, you have everything in China. I want you to move it from China back to our country. And he started doing that. And he built a factory, a big one in Texas. He built another one. And this was all a process. It was all happening. But I did give him an exception. And the reason was, he said, as soon as he said Samsung, I said, how is that product compared to yours? He said, it's a good product. I said, then you really can't compete. You can't have a 25 or 50% tariff and compete, right? Yeah. And I said, I'm giving you an exception. And I did it for many companies.
But what happens if a small,
but the ultimate,
small businesses come and see you? That was the question.
But we do it for small businesses too. We do it for small business. I'll give you another example. We have a man who I didn't know, but he came to me. He was at a meeting, and he built kitchen cabinets. And he was, pretty big in the business. That's all he did is build kitchen cabinets. He said, sir, China and South Korea are building kitchen cabinets for 1/3 of what I can make them. I said, what's the quality? They're not as good, but they're good enough. I can't compete. I'm going out of business. I have 2,000 people that work for me. I'm going out of business. I put a 25% tariff still on kitchen cabinets. I saw the guy 3 days ago. He said, I'm the man that saw you about kitchen cabinets.
Back for Trump, no.
You saved my company when you did the tariff, and you saved thousands of jobs. And my company is now doing very well. And he started to cry. This guy hasn't cried too much, I will tell you. He said, you saved my company. There's nobody that could have done that.
Maybe I can ask you, Ben, about something else. Business people here in this room. Business
that
people,
man skipped a whole subject.
They all like the rule of law. They like certainty. The Chinese, who you mentioned, other dictators.
Right.
They don't like it when things go wrong. They like it when things go wrong in America. If you look at the events of January the 6th, 2021, it showed to many people America's democracy was unruly and violent. Only 3 weeks to go to the election. Will you commit now to respecting and encouraging a peaceful transfer of power?
Well, you had a peaceful transfer of power.
You had a peaceful transfer of power. You had a peaceful... Come on, President Trump.
When America leads, America cures.
Instagram.
Like, Trump don't care about none of that shit. Trump gonna run all that shit. He don't care about no judge. He don't care what the judge say. He gonna charge him everything to bring that shit over here because he want part of that because he got that money planted for already, man. Telling y'all.
Transfer of power compared with Venezuela, but it was by far the worst transfer of power for a long time.
Thank you. I appreciate that because this is what they like to do. This is what they like to do. It's very interesting.
The question, President Trump, is would you respect the decision?
When I found out about this interview, I did a little check. He's a man that has not been a big Trump fan over the years. So I had a choice. Do I do this interview or not? I'm glad I did it. But do I do this interview or do I disappoint a lot of people? Because I know a lot of people in the audience. But his view is very different than mine. Let me just tell you.
I'm asking you a question, Professor.
We had a term, peacefully and patriotically. These were people. If you think an election is crooked, and I do, 100%, if you think the day it comes when you can't protest, you take a look at the Democrats. They protested 2016. They're still protesting it. Nobody talks about them. But if we protest, we want to have honest elections. You think the last election was honest?
Do you think all the times it went to court, the court sided
it didn't
with
go. They went to court, and the courts all said you don't have standing. Nobody had standing, and it's hard, frankly, after an election for a judge. But they all said you don't. Nobody ever had standing. But the facts, if you take a look, I'd show you hundreds of pages of facts. People were angry. People went there. And I'll tell you what, they never show that. The primary scene in Washington was hundreds of thousands, the largest group of people I've ever spoken before, and I've spoken before. And it was love and peace. And some people went to the Capitol. And a lot of strange things happened there. A lot of strange things, like people being waved into the Capitol by police, with people screaming, go in, with that never got into trouble. I don't want to mention names, but you know who they are. A lot of strange things happened. But you had a peaceful, very peaceful. I left the morning that I was supposed to leave. I went to Florida, and you had a very peaceful transfer. This was not and I'll tell you what, those people that did go down, which was a tiny fraction of the people that went to Washington. I mean, you're talking about a very, very small, because hundreds of thousands of people, and I don't know what you had, 500, 600, 700 people go down to the Capitol. But those people, that was not one of those people had a gun. Nobody was killed except for Ashley Babbitt. She was killed. She was killed. She was shot in the head by a policeman that had what he did was horrible.
President Trump,
so I think we should be allowed to disagree on that. And obviously, you see by the reaction in this room, there's a lot of other people.
Let's return to one other big subject you bring up repeatedly, immigration. I know it's a very emotive issue for you, but just from the point of view of business people here, you look at the full effect of taking a lot of people out of the workforce, removing a lot of people. The Congressional Budget Office is banking on the fact that there'll be $9 trillion added to the GDP of America over the next 10 years by immigrants. You want to stop that process. For all the people who run businesses in the audience, I'm just focusing on the economic thing, are you prepared to say, look, it's fine to have a slightly smaller economy in exchange for having the immigration controls you want?
Simple answer. I want a lot of people to come into our country, but I want them to come in legally. I don't want to have murder.
But that means you will have to deport. You know, you are talking about deporting 11 million people. That is a lot of people to take out.
It came out last week that 425,000 people are horrible criminals at the highest level. But it came out that 13,099 were let in during their administration. They tried to say longer, wrong. Over the last 3.5 years, 13,000 plus people came in, murderers. They're in jail for murder. Some were having the death penalty. They were all released into our country. 13,099 people were released into our country. We had drug dealers released. We had street gangs released.
That nigga got the same interview message to give out every time, bro.
Look at what happened yesterday, last night in Times Square, where rough migrants from all over the place. You know, it's not just South America. We have people coming in from the Congo, large numbers from the Congo and Africa. They came in, as of last night, I was speaking to Tom Homan, 180 countries, people came in. They came from prisons and jails. They came from mental institutions and insane asylums, a step above. They came from
he is a good
the
businessman.
terrorists.
I
We
can't
had
say
large
he's
numbers
not
of
a good
terrorists come
he's
in.
a good
When I was
he's
president,
a
we had the
businessman.
strongest border in the history of our country. I built
That's why he's
hundreds of
doing
miles
what he's
of
doing.
wall, and walls work, by the way. Hundreds of miles. We had the best numbers we've ever had. Now we have the worst numbers, and here's the problem. We have some of the worst criminals in the world coming in. Now, Venezuela, their crime has gone down at levels that nobody's ever seen before, because they've taken their street gangs and their drug dealers and they've emptied their prisons. Not fully, because they can't get enough buses. They've emptied their prisons. They load up the buses and they drive them into the United States, and they're dropping their prisoners into our country. Their crime is down. Their numbers are crazy how low it's dropped. I heard 72, 74%. They've taken their gangs. They've taken their criminals off the street. They've taken their people out of mental institutions, which cost them a fortune, and they've taken them and dropped them into the United States of America. Those people have to be returned. We can't live with thousands of murderers and not.
The issue I asked you about was the idea that if you reduce immigration, every economist will tell you, if you have fewer people, there is a smaller economy.
I like immigration, but they've got to come in legally.
Okay. Well, let's finish on two.
No, I want to make sure. Look, I don't want to have people that have killed 9 people and they're a sadistic, crazy nut job. We have to have people that can love our country, that can, that will obey the laws, everything else. You have hundreds of thousands of criminals being dropped in, and Venezuela is one country. Look at what they have done, though, in Aurora. They've taken over apartment complexes. They've gone into the real estate business. See, they're like us, except they've done it with MK, whatever the hell they're called, right? I mean, they have weapons that are so sophisticated, our military doesn't have them. They've taken over parts of cities. In Colorado, you have a place called beautiful Aurora. Take a look at what's happened to Springfield, Ohio, where they dropped 30,000 people into a community of 50,000 people, and it's total bedlam. The hospitals can't be used anymore by the residents. The schools can't be used by the children that were there last year because other people that don't even speak the language.
The issue I asked you about, many companies here have a shortage of labor.
Yeah, that's good. We'll take care of that. We're going to get people in here rapidly, and they're going to be people that want to be in here, and they're going to be people that can love our country and won't kill people because they don't like the way they look. These are killers, by the way. Some of these killers are among the most evil killers. They will look at you down, the beautiful woman there, they'll look at you and they will kill you. These are seriously sick people. And no, I don't want them in our country. And they are in our country right now. And they're in there because Kamala Harris, who's our border czar, is an incompetent
President Trump, for the record, as you know, the crime rate is lower. Can I finish with two questions? The first, you just said it, you don't do old. You own and run businesses. Yeah. Would you appoint a CEO who was 78? You didn't give you a medical?
I would. Depends on I'd make people like Biden, who's in bad shape. I wouldn't appoint him.
You already know.
He's 81 or 82. He's 4 years older. But I'd appoint, I know some of the smartest people I know.
Like, subscribe, and drop
Meet
a comment.
Astra, an AI-powered agent builder designed to keep your business running.
We all Trump today, man, because the judge told Trump, man, that he can't charge them people that money, man, to send product over here. So Trump really, really mad right now. Trump really, really mad, man, because he can't get that money. But listen, he gonna figure out a way, man, to get that money. I'm letting y'all know it's not a game. Trump is a fucking finesser, man. He know what he doing. I'm telling you, man. Trump know what he doing, bro.
From the time he was 80 to 90, and he was a failure all his life. He was in the drinks business.
Strangely, you didn't bring this up but you were running against Joe Biden.
No, I never attacked him for his age. In fact, I used to defend him on his age. I attacked him for his lack of competence.
I've asked you all these questions.
No, I never did. By the way, because I think it's important, and I know you do too. I know so many people in their 80s that are among. Bernie Marcus is 95. He founder of Home Depot. You have that conversation with him. He's just as sharp as he mentally. He's just as sharp as he ever was. He's 95. I could tell you that in their 90s. I don't want to get into the 90s stuff, but you know what? I know many people in their 80s. I know guys in their 80s that won't leave the company, like family companies where they don't want the kids to take over, because they're much more competent than their kids. I know them both, right? So no, I would have no problem. And you do have another factor. You know, we've had some of our great
on the Supreme Court. You just said
some of our great world leaders are in the 80s, and if you look throughout history, some of our greatest world leaders were in their 80s. No, that would bother me, but. You know, I took 2 cognitive tests, and I aced them both. I think that, frankly, people, regardless, should take, if they're 50 or 40, I think people should take cognitive tests, not because of the age, but because of something else. Now, here's the problem. They say it's unconstitutional, okay? But I would love to see cognitive tests. I don't think she could pass a cognitive test. I mean, I've watched. I don't think she could pass a cognitive test.
President Trump, you've gone over many issues on this. I asked you many questions about things. One thing I haven't asked at all about is the state of the race.
Yeah.
And I had a question for you. On election night, which state would you look at first? Which state do you think this race is going to be decided by?
So they say Pennsylvania, I would say most. I think we're doing very well there. I think you look at Michigan too, and I'm doing very well there. You know, we don't have to look necessarily. The votes are starting to come in now. So you look at polls, but you can also look at the votes that are being cast right now. People get a pretty good indication. And based, as we discussed backstage, you know, based on the votes that are coming in so far, we're doing very well. I mean, we're way up in Pennsylvania. We're way up in Michigan. We're doing very well in Arizona. I saw Arizona. In fact, somebody said they're going to pull the plug in Arizona. They're going to give it up because it looks like we're quite a ways ahead. I think we're doing well. Look, this is a party, the Republican Party, of common sense. Forget about conservative, liberal. We're, let's say conservative, but we're really a party of, we need borders. We need fair elections. We don't want men playing in women's sports. We don't want transgender operations without parental consent. You know, there's so many things, but it's 99.9% is common sense. It really is common sense.
Common sense.
I like to say it. I don't know if anyone said it in the past, but I say we're really a party of common sense, and we want to have great people in our country. I want to have a lot of people come in so that you have your choice and so that they have choice. I want to, you know, I have a good heart. I have a heart where I want people to be taken care of,
I got a
but
good
I don't want to take in people where millions of people, 21 million people at least, have come in the last 3.5 years, unvetted, unchecked. We don't know anything about them. How about this? Gavin Newsom, he's the governor of California. He signed Newsom, my governor.
But do you think?
No, he corrected me. I said, that's the first time I've been corrected.
There are CEOs out here. If they said those sort of things about a rival CEO, they'd be sacked. Do you think it's fine for a president?
But they don't have to survive like me. They don't have to go through what I have to go through. There's never been a president that's been treated like me, so I have to fight my own way.
That's crazy.
You made a very good job of.
He signed a bill in California 2 days ago that you don't even have the right to ask a person for voter ID. And if you ask a person for voter ID, of course you have to show voter ID. The only reason you wouldn't do, because they want to cheat. The bill says you cannot, it's against the law for you to ask a person, may I please see your voter ID when he votes? What is our country coming to?
Well, you've given us a tour d'horizon of where that country might be going to. Thank you very much, President Trump.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for the conversation.
Listen, man, I'm tapping in. Listen, man, thank y'all for tuning in for right now. But I need y'all to come back tonight at 11 p.m. for the late night show for Yocuzpodcast. I need y'all to tap in. Make sure y'all subscribe, like, and drop a comment, man, after this episode, man. Thank y'all for supporting the page. I appreciate the love. But I will be back at 11 p.m. tonight for the late night show. Make sure y'all tune in, man. I'm gone.